Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Don't DIY, also known as Don't Do It Yourself. We're going to be talking all about outsourcing today, so we're very excited for you guys to be joining us. First things first, I added a couple little housekeeping items over there in the chat for everybody. So if you have any audio or visual issues, most times just refreshing the page is the best way to take care of that. When you do that, or if you're coming in late, which you won't know that I said this, so this doesn't make the most sense, but if you're coming in late or you do that, you might need to hit the play button or the unmute button in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. And then the biggest question that we always get, is this being recorded? Yes, we are recording it right now. We will be emailing it out to you guys afterwards, and we always post to YouTube. So that's something to look forward to. I can actually even post our YouTube channel for you guys in the chat right now, just to make it extra easy. If you want to subscribe there, you can do that. But let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, we're going to be talking all about outsourcing today. We have our incredible panel here to give us all of their insights about when you should outsource, how you should outsource, how to hire the right people, how to decide it's the right time for your business to do that, and all of the different things to consider when you're making that decision about outsourcing for your business. So we have our panel here this morning of HoneyBook Pros. So pros are a relatively new program that we've been working on. We actually just launched our marketplace for it this week. So you guys will get a little demo of that later on that I'll be leading us through. But pros are essentially HoneyBook members. So they are not at all HoneyBook employees. They are business owners just like you guys. They either have been with the product for a long time or have just really invested a lot of time and resources to get to know the HoneyBook product basically as good as I do as a HoneyBook employee for the last 4.5 years. So they are total experts in their fields in regards to the HoneyBook system, but also to all of the grit and time that it takes to running a business and being the best business owner that you can be. So they're kind of bridging that gap between business coach in some ways and also systems, automations, technical experts. So there are multiple different categories of pros depending on what you're looking for. So the first of which is just going to be setup. So if you're somebody who's just kind of getting your feet under you with the HoneyBook system, or you only use like a fifth of the tools in there and you really need somebody's help getting those initial things set up and you don't know where to start or you don't have the time, we have that category for you. We also have the design and branding category. So if you're someone who feels like you're a little design challenge or a little branding challenge. I know I hear this all the time with my members that I talk to. There's so many branding elements and wonderful places where you can really put your brand and design forward in the HoneyBook system. So if that's something that you want to level up or that you need help with, we have that category of pros. We also have the kind of level up your experience option where we're improving your account. So that's people who are going through, or pros who are going through and making sure that you're getting the most out of the system. So maybe you're using scheduling, but you feel like you could be doing it a little bit better, or you're using the contact form, but sometimes the fields in your contract don't fill and you know there could be a better way to do it. So those are going to be the pros who go through and essentially audit your account to make sure that what you've set up already is really working the way it should be and kind of working in that harder, or smarter, not harder way for you. And then the final option for the pro category is going to be our coaches and strategy experts. So they are the ones who are going to sit down with you and really make sure that your overall business strategy and HoneyBook are hand in hand. If you're somebody who's never taken the time to really sit down and make sure that your business is set up completely for success, and you're looking for that little level up, maybe you want to boost your income this year, maybe you want to raise your prices and you don't know what strategy to approach that with, we have that category of pros as well. So really broad spectrum, all the way from the beginning users of HoneyBook through you've been in business for years and you just want to level up a little bit. We've got all of those options available for you. And I am going to post at the bottom of the screen right now the button where you can access the Pros Marketplace to go and check that out on your own. But like I said, I will be doing a little demo at the end of what that marketplace looks like, and how you guys can shop around to find someone who can help you out in any of those categories if that's something that interests you. So let's introduce our amazing panel. First off, I'm Mac. I'm Mac Hughes. I'm part of the product education team. Like I mentioned, I've been here for 4.5 years. So I know the HoneyBook product really, really well, but these pros, like I said, know it probably just as well, if not better than I do. So I'm excited to introduce everyone. So first off, we have Allie Bauer here. We also have Sydney Lynn Young, and we have Terry Rice here as well. So we are so excited to introduce you guys. I want to give each of you guys a couple minutes just to introduce yourselves. Give us an idea of who you are, how many years you've been in business, how many years you've been with HoneyBook, and what kind of category of the pro niche that you fall into there. So Allie, let's go ahead and start with you.
Okay, so I am Allie. I'm the owner of Allie B Designs. I am a brand designer, stylist, strategist, whatever you want to call it. I am from Kearney, Nebraska. I have been in business. I started locally with wedding invitations in 2010, so a long time ago. And I have been with HoneyBook since 2018.
Awesome. And then so you would say your pro niche category is more of that design branding?
Yes, the branding, the brand collateral, designing flows, websites,
Amazing.
All the jazz.
Awesome. Let's have Sydney go next just to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sydney. I'm a systems coach, systems strategist, a lot of different hats. I actually started my business doing website design, and that's when I first discovered HoneyBook and then completely fell in love. And that was about 5 years ago. And so, yeah, but I've been, consistently using HoneyBook for, 4 to 5 years, I guess now. And I'd say my pro niche category is coaches, website designers. I love working with photographers in wedding venues, tax professionals and bookkeepers as well, because I also come from a bookkeeping background. So I love that as well.
Awesome. All righty, Terry.
Hey, my name is Terry Rice, and I'm glad I'm going last because there was a siren going by. I live here in Brooklyn. So that was
perfect.
A good way to stall. But yeah, I'm a business development consultant, and I'm also a staff writer at Entrepreneur Magazine. And normally what I do is I help other professional service providers build their brand and revenue. Maybe you need help with your pricing, packaging, promotion. That's what I do. Also teaching you how to create better content, videos, but more or less helping you get rewarded for who you are, not just what you do, because I know how competitive it can be out there. I've been using HoneyBook for, I want to say 3 years or so, and I've been in business myself for 6.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, great. And the other thing I should have gone over to you guys, the agenda today is we're going to be, doing this panel of questions all about outsourcing so that you guys can have some good information going forward about how to outsource and really use that to grow your business. But we'll also be saving the 10 minutes at the end for any questions that you have from the audience. So if you have any questions as we're going through, feel free to post those in the chat or post them as questions, and we'll go ahead and answer those at the end for you as well. But let's go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to pose this question to each of you guys now that we have the understanding of what pros are and how long you've been in business and all this good stuff. What made each of you decide that you wanted to be a HoneyBook Pro? And we'll go ahead and start with Allie again.
Well, why would I not? I kind of like what Sydney said, I became obsessed with HoneyBook the second that I started using it. I used to overcomplicate things. Weird. As a designer, I spent a lot of time over designing and changing designs, and I loved how HoneyBook just made it branded and simple and beautiful, and I stopped spinning my wheels on useless tasks. And now I implement it everywhere that I can. So I'm excited to help others do that too.
That's great. Okay, Sydney, what about you?
Well, first off, of course, I love the platform. That's why I'm here. But honestly, it's so reliable, and there's so many amazing features that can help you on the back end of your business and so efficiently. And also too, it's really important for me to align with a company that has great values and also really listens to the feedback of their customers and their pros, because we're the ones helping the clients, and you guys are always listening to us, and it's really creating this amazing product and community around that. And I just think that's so awesome, and yeah, that's why I love it.
I love it. Okay, Terry, what about you?
Yeah, I'll echo that. I had a chance to interview the CEO of HoneyBook, Oz Allen, about 2 years ago. And I was so impressed with him and your overall commitment to the community through Rising Tide and through all the resources. So I was like, this is a cool guy and a cool opportunity to get involved with this organization. And ever since then, I've been trying to find excuses to do so. So thanks for having me here today.
Of course. Yeah, Oz is the best cheerleader. So I'll definitely stand by that too. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and kick things off. So we'll start with this first question for Sydney and Terry. Can each of you guys just take a couple seconds or a couple minutes here to just tell us about a time when you personally decided that it was a good time for you to outsource in your business, and then elaborate a little bit on the impact that had on you as an individual and as your business as a whole. So Sydney, go ahead and kick us off there.
Thanks. So I have a 3-year-old son, and actually one morning we woke up and we decided we wanted to do a lemonade stand. It was so cute, and I actually love this idea because as a kid I was like always such an entrepreneur, and I was like, oh, I just want to do this with my son really bad, right? And so it was like 2:00, we're like getting ready and get all prepped out, and he's like so excited. He was like, we're sitting outside having a blast, like watching the cars go by, and they were waving, coming by, supporting him, which I thought was super awesome. And then in that moment, I received like a few notifications on my phone. One was from HoneyBook saying I had a project booked, a deposit paid. The other was my assistant saying some client work has been completed. And then I actually had a few DMs come in because my social media manager was scheduling some other things going on. And in this moment, I was like, wow, like my business is running like a well-oiled machine. Like every part of it is how I want it, and things are happening. And like, I was like, this is the time freedom to be able to do this kind of thing with my child that I want every other business owner to experience. And so, yeah, it was just super moving for me in that moment. I was like, yeah, this is why outsourcing is so important.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, Terry, try to top that. I'm just kidding.
Well, I have 3 kids. I'm joking. I do, but I'm not gonna be that guy. I'll give you my story. So this one time I'm trying to format this document, right? It's like an audit I did, and most of the slides were vertical. I wanted one to be horizontal. So I spent 3 hours trying to make this thing horizontal through YouTube videos, Googling, praying, all that stuff. And finally I just found some random person, paid them $10, and 2 minutes later, she's like, oh, here you go. So I'm like, that's not my zone of genius, knowing how to rotate stuff on a file. My zone of genius is help people build their brand and revenue. So that's when I realized I'm like, I can't do all this stuff myself, even though you want to have that grit, that curiosity, so on and so forth. If you're not going to be doing these tasks over and over again, or you don't need to, you should probably outsource it.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So kind of along that same vein of making that decision when you find that time when you need to outsource. So Terry and Allie, I'm going to ask this next one of you guys. What would you say are 3 signs that a business owner should look out for that it's time for them to seriously consider outsourcing? Allie, we'll go ahead and start with you. Oh, I think you're on mute. Hold on. There we go.
It kept toggling up my little pop-up. Sorry.
No worries.
Why did I hit it? Okay. Anyway, so these were all hard learned from my own experiences over the past decade. So time. If you are running short on time, you're spinning your wheels doing things, you feel like you're never checking things off. That's when I first start looking. Trust was a hard learned one. First, I had to learn to trust myself, and knowing that I wasn't just handing off a task to somebody that I thought could do it better. But also learning to trust the person that I was going to collaborate with, that I could collaborate with them and not just take what they had to say and have to do it that way. And then follow through. Follow through was one that if I'm going to hire somebody, like I have a VA who does my social media management, she does client communication. If I'm not going to provide to her what she needs, I can't blame her on a crappy situation that stuff's not getting done. So those are my top 3, the time, trust, and follow through.
Yeah. And just for anyone who's not familiar, VA is a virtual assistant. Awesome. Okay, Terry, what are your 3 signs it's time to outsource?
Yeah, 3 signs. I mean, the first is, let's pretend you charge $100 an hour, just to put a number out there. Anytime you're doing something you would not pay someone $100 an hour to do, you should probably stop, right? You should outsource it because you're literally losing money. You should be doing anything else besides that. Another sign is anytime you're doing stuff that's just not in your zone of genius, that drains you instead of excites you and energizes you, you want to outsource that as well. And the third is if things are just not your core competency, right? There's someone else who could be doing this. And you should be doing something better for your business, creating videos, writing a blog, doing biz dev, whatever it is. But like, if it's not central for you to do that task, you should outsource that as well.
Yeah, those are great. And I love how those kind of showcase your guys' different niches as well, from like the business strategy to more of like the design and branding side too. Okay, cool. This next one we're going to do for Sydney and Allie. So how do you think someone should determine what they need to do on their own as a business owner? So kind of in the same vein again, how do you decide, once you've decided it's time to outsource, because you've identified these signs in your business, how do you know what you should be doing versus what's worth hiring someone else to do? So why don't we start with Sydney on this one?
Awesome. Yeah, I love this question. I really think you should start by writing a list of every single task that you do on a daily basis, or even like take a few days to log every single thing that you're doing, like minute to minute that day, to see where are you spending your time? Because sometimes you don't realize it till it's right in front of you on paper and you're like, wow, I actually spent that much time doing that, right? And then from there, like just what Terry said too, even like putting a dollar value on the tasks you're doing is super important to determine what you're going to be, like how to determine what tasks you should be doing. And then from there, like also what you love is important. And then after that, I think it's best to figure out, once you figure out those areas, to outsource them and have somebody else take those on.
Great. Allie, what do you think?
So pretty much kind of what Terry was talking about before, like figuring out what your zone of genius is. Like as business owners, we can absolutely do every task, but do we need to? Yeah. And where can we be spending our time actually making money and doing what we can do best, and then outsource what we don't need to be spinning our wheels on?
Definitely. Okay. So Terry, I want to ask this next one of you from like our strategy side, our business coaching side. I think oftentimes when people think about outsourcing, they again are getting hung up on the idea that maybe there's like this preconceived notion that they need to be this really established business. They need to be really financially stable in order to hire other people or build out a team or outsource. So what are your thoughts around that? And how can we encourage people that that's either true or not true? What are your opinions on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's hard to become established or stable if you don't outsource. Because again, there's things you should be doing besides rotating PDFs, right? So if marketing is outside your scope of genius, outsource it. If you don't know how to fully express yourself clearly to your audience, you need some help with that as well. But oftentimes we think we can't spend any money until we're making it, but it's the other way around, right? You might be a few critical skills, few critical resources away from being successful. But if you're just don't want to spend the money to invest in yourself, just like you want your clients to invest in you, first of all, it's hypocritical. Second of all, it's going to be detrimental to your business. So you do want to look out for that, because that projects that like a scarcity mindset, projects lack. When you're like, oh, I can't invest in myself. It's like, really? Well, why not? Like, that's kind of how a business goes.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Let's see what else we have here. So Sydney, I'm going to ask this next question of you. We talked a little bit earlier about when you personally made the decision to outsource for your business and realized that you had this well-oiled machine. Can you tell us about a recent project or a recent project or job that you've worked on where you really were able to see how that impacted your client and what you were able to do for them? Just tell us from start to finish what it was like to work with you and how it ended up impacting their business.
For sure. So we started with a strategy session. I do that with all my clients, so we can really take a look at what their processes are going to be and then break it down from there to see what, how we can best customize HoneyBook to suit their business. And so this client was doing everything manually, from creating a PDF proposal, sending it to the client, then having to create the contract in Word, and then export it and upload it to a signing platform, and then create an invoice somewhere else. Like, the list goes on. And so I know a lot of people can relate to that, because it's a lot of clicks and it's a lot of work. And then we took everything, restructured her process so that she can send her proposal, contract, invoice all in one easy step using HoneyBook, which is amazing. We set up automatic email reminders, welcome emails, follow-up emails. And then after seeing her process come to life, she was just so excited to have this organized system in place. And she feels control and has her team members controlling projects. And just overall, this is more time for her and her business. And just, I think there's something really empowering about just seeing your whole process in place and knowing that this is what you do every single time. And sometimes when we're so wrapped up into it, we forget all these little pieces. But when it's super structured in front of you, it's easier to just execute all of those, make everything happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Allie kind of touched on that earlier too, when she was talking about how, I think sometimes we can be like a slave to our options in a lot of ways, right? Like, if there's so many different ways that we can do something, or so many different ways we can execute on a job or a task, we can get lost in the decision process. And you can, like we've been saying, spin your wheels a lot. So I think that's where HoneyBook really is able to help people, because it gives almost like this templated, yes, there's tons of room for customization, but it gives this like pre-formatted almost formula for success, where you can plug and play where it makes the most sense for your process or your business. And I think that's where the pros actually can help out a lot, because you might have a process that works outside of HoneyBook and you are spinning your wheels a bit. And then when you come into HoneyBook, there's no more room to spin your wheels, and you have more room to really strategize and perfect and fine tune that process. And I think that's where the pros can really come into play. So if I'm speaking to you in the crowd today, that is why our pros are here. I posted all three of these guys' links up in the top of the chat. If you scroll up a little bit, you can access it there. And then I also put the link to the pros marketplace in the button down at the bottom of the screen. So feel free to check that out. Clicking that button won't knock you out of the webinar either. It'll just open it in a new tab. I get that question sometimes. So, okay, awesome. Let's keep rolling here. So this next one I'm going to pose to you, Allie. This is another thing that I think people get hung up on, is they think that by outsourcing, they are completely, and I know you kind of mentioned this too, they're completely getting rid of the task on their to-do list, or the job on their to-do list, or whatever item it might be. They think that they're just completely writing it off. And are there situations where that is true? Are there situations where it's not true? How would you kind of advise someone in approaching that mindset, or what advice would you give?
So to me, it's a give and take. I recently hired a pro to overhaul my project management in ClickUp, utilizing HoneyBook at the same time. I just needed a place where I had everything like separate from client communication. And while I didn't want to spend the time setting it up, I still had tasks of writing the canned emails in HoneyBook and getting my flows all ready and getting my brochures all figured out. I had a lot of SOPs that I had to record videos for, and yet she still took the task and knocked it out of the park. That now my VA and I both know where we're at with each project. I know when I can schedule new ones instead of just winging it every time. So that was really important to me, but I had a lot of work that I had to do to give to her. But the same thing goes that now it's only going to save me time over and over and over in the future, because I'm not going to be doing those same tasks and randomly misplacing things or anything like that. To me, it's the same like when I work on branding for clients or any design project. A lot of them spend a lot of time in Canva using different templates or hopping from different design programs, trying to figure out what would be best for them. And instead of actually marketing their business and putting it out there because they're confident in their designs and they know exactly what to use and when to use it, it saves them time over and over and over again. So the investment up front, yes, you will probably have some tasks, but the time saved in the end is always worth it.
Yeah, definitely. So do you think there's any situations where someone would be completely writing off a task from their to-do list when they're outsourcing something, or is there always going to be some kind of work that they need to put in?
As a business owner, you're always going to have to make the decision. You have to have the final call. You have to be confident in your own business and knowing exactly where you want it to head. Yes, working with a strategist or a coach, they're going to lead you and help you decide, make those and find your path. But ultimately, you still have to know that you're in charge of your business. So no task ever comes without something.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Oh, we had a question too from Sarah in the chat for you, Allie. When you hired the pro to help you with that, which pro did you hire? They wanted to know. Do you remember? We can come back to it.
I called her a pro. I don't know if she's actually in the pros community.
Okay.
It was a professional though.
A professional individual.
I will say that if anyone is looking for are you talking about the ClickUp support? I do specialize in ClickUp if anyone is wondering for ClickUp support as well. So
here we go. Sydney is your girl.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Sarah. Okay, great. Let's keep going here. And we are a bit ahead of schedule, so feel free to elaborate as we're going through here on your answers, guys. So we'll pose this next one with Sydney and Terry. So this is kind of a longer format question too, so maybe we'll just break it up into a couple different sections. So how would you recommend that a business owner prepare themselves for having to delegate? Because we've already talked about, when you are outsourcing, there is going to be some work involved, maybe a little bit of investment of your time early on to get a lot of time back later. How should a business owner begin to prepare themselves for delegating out? So Terry, let's start with you on that one, and then we'll get into kind of the second part of the question after.
Yeah, I'd say the first part is being clear on the outcome. Like, what do you actually want to accomplish? Because you can hire an expert and give them horrible information and you'll get horrible outcomes. That's how it goes. So getting very clear on that. And if you have examples of what success looks like, that's beneficial too. Here's exactly what I want. It looks like this. It sounds like that, so on and so forth. If you know how to do the task, what I've done before is I'll record myself doing it using a tool called Loom, just Loom, saying, here's exactly what I need done. Here's how you do it. Here's how long it takes. So don't bake up your hours. And again, just showing you that understanding of what to do just makes you a better partner. So just that clarity is really what's important, because clarity is the precursor to confidence. And then once you have that, you can confidently hire someone and also tell them more or less how to do the job that you're asking them to perform.
Perfect. Yeah, I feel like that kind of leads into the second part of the question then too. So how do you make sure that you're hiring the right person for the job, Terry? Like, when I know obviously you're an expert, like this is part of your zone of genius, is to know what you need going into the problem. But I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience today who are like, I don't know what I don't know. So how do you hire the right person? Would you include that as part of your interview process with them to say, what do you see as the outcome? Here's what I need help on. I'm still trying to figure this out. Or how would you approach that? How do you hire the right person for the job?
There's a few ways. I mean, one is checking their testimonials, right? Not just looking at them, actually checking the person, going on LinkedIn saying, hey, Allie, I understand you worked with Carrie. How was it? Like, make sure they're not just making these up. That's one. But it's also the questions they ask as you're communicating, because you don't want a vendor, you want a business partner. A vendor is going to say, what do you want? And they're going to take orders. A business partner will ask powerful questions that reveal insights, opportunities, that reveal blind spots, and then give you powerful solutions. So it's not just, how they're presenting themselves, but what are they asking? Do they actually prove they're caring about you? Think about it from your perspective as well. And then outside of that, do they have expertise in your industry? Because you can be really good at email marketing for e-commerce, but have you ever done it for a nonprofit? Super different, right? So make sure they have industry relevant expertise as well.
Awesome. Okay, this just reminded me, this is just an analogy that came into my mind. And then Sydney, I want to give you a chance to answer the questions too, but I just have this analogy that is just perfect for this, I feel like. So I'm getting married this year, and we've been getting my fiance fitted for his tux. Okay, I'm going broke here. Okay, so we went to Men's Warehouse and got him his tux, and the alterations, every time we went in, we're just like, well, how do you want it? And asking us essentially what alterations we wanted on the tux. And so we did our best. We had to go in 3 different times, and we got it looking the way we want. But recently we were at Nordstrom Rack. Now, if you guys have ever shopped at Nordstrom, you know their alterations department is off the hook. We go in, he's trying on a couple suits in the dressing room. This woman comes out and she says, see this little part on the back shoulder? You don't want it to look like this. And she just put one pin in 2 seconds, and it was this perfectly beautiful fitted suit all of a sudden. And we came home and his tux for the wedding doesn't do that. So this is like the perfect example, right? Like, look for people who know what they're talking about. Look for people who are asking the right questions. If they're asking you what you need, that's an example of a vendor. I love that analogy or that definition of it, Terry. Someone who's a vendor is going to ask you what you need, but a business partner is going to come in and really strategize with you and help you figure that out. I love that example. Okay, Sydney, after my tangent. So how would you specifically recommend that a business owner start to prepare to delegate out to someone? What should they, have in front of them and in preparation for that, basically?
Well, I think it depends too on what exactly you're hiring out for, because I think for an expert or somebody that's going to be, doing something like this, that's one thing. But if you're hiring maybe more of a general virtual assistant in your business, that might be a different process that you take for, these are the way I want the task done. And you want to train them on this is the way that it needs to be done, right? And so I also think that the person that you're hiring should be really excited about your business, your vision, your goals, like bringing a community around your business so you can build that dream team, whatever that may look like. And especially if you have somebody that's like maybe, you're working with for a longer period of time, like a virtual assistant, then you definitely want to be able to have somebody that has the same values as you, so you can align with them, create that stronger business foundation. It just gives a overall better foundation, I think, in your business. The other thing though, I think too, is if you're going to be hiring, an expert in a certain, like say, for example, it's HoneyBook or ClickUp, and you need this certain strategy on something that I think going with somebody that really has a structured process already in place, because like you said with that analogy, and like what Terry said too, like that's going to ask these questions, and that is actually just going to guide you the way you need to go, instead of, just you responding to what they have to say, right? You're just doing what they're saying and then nothing's really coming from it, versus, an expert that's actually going to guide them through this path to give them, the end result that they're looking for. So,
yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's kind of a general business best practice, right? Like as business owners, we're the ones who are meant to set the expectation for our clients across whatever industry you're in. I don't care if you're a venue, if you're a photographer, if you're a business coach, whatever industry you're in, your clients are hiring you as the expert. Yeah. And this is something that we talk about across all of our webinars. Like sometimes more than 50% of the job is just setting the expectations with your clients. This is the path we're going to go down. This is how we're going to get you set up for success. This is how I'm going to take the best wedding photos you've ever seen. So whatever that might be, setting those expectations and making them feel really taken care of is just overall a business approach that we should all be taking. And that comes true when you're shopping for someone to align with you on your own business as well. So I love that idea too. And I think, Sydney, you kind of approached this already in how you should hire the right person, right? We're kind of past that part of the question at this point.
Yeah, I kind of had that at the beginning, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Also, let's do a quick roundup, because I know all of you have expressed stories or times when you hired someone. So maybe let's just start with Allie. So Allie, when you hired your VA, for example, how many people did you interview? How long did it take you to settle on someone? How did you approach that whole process? Just so the audience knows when they're going into a situation like that, what did that look like for you in your business?
So I have hired a lot of VAs. But when I finally found the one, it was off of personal recommendations. I had finally sat down and written out the task list that I actually wanted to have achieved, instead of just thinking that somebody would tell me what I needed. So I talked to 3 or 4 different ones at that time. And for me, it's really just the vibe. I have to trust that, like Terry said, that they're going to be on my team. They're going to be excited to be on my team. They're going to support me. They're going to tell me when I'm dreaming too big or dreaming too small. They're going to bring ideas to the table, even though I am the business owner. I want them to want to be in my business. So that's how I chose. I hope I never lose her. I love her to pieces. So
awesome. Okay, Sydney, what about you? I know you've expressed hiring a VA as well. What are some other, does your VA do your social media management? You mentioned someone
I
doing
have an actual social media manager just for that section of the, and that was something I was going to say is hiring in specialty areas is a good idea as well. I do have a general VA and she does, just the random tasks and the emails and the more tedious things. And then I have certain areas of the business where I hire out for some really specific things like social media management, Facebook ads stuff, things that are a little that I don't even want to like really get into it, right? I want to stay in my zone of genius, right? So
definitely. Yeah. Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what that process was? Like how many, have you hired a bunch and kind of landed on the one, or what was your process of getting to kind of this well-oiled machine that you mentioned? Like what should the audience expect if they want to end up in your well-oiled machine universe?
Yeah, I've hired a few, and it started with, the first few that I realized that maybe weren't the best fit. There are also people that it was like I was hiring them and tasks were kind of getting behind and they weren't getting done. And I'm realizing that wasn't really what they wanted to be doing. So recognizing that and making sure that you have a team member that's like communicating what they love doing in the business and what they want to contribute, because then I feel you're going to have such a stronger business because they're going to be taking care of and having the responsibility of something. And that's the other thing is passing off responsibility, like actually giving that power away to that person to say, you are responsible to complete X, Y, and Z every single week at this time, or do this, because without giving up that full control, because it can be hard. I know that people struggle with this and I get this question, well, I don't want somebody in my inbox, or I don't know about this, and just giving up that control of your business, of you being that it's something you have to do in order to experience more freedom, because then they're going to feel like the task is their responsibility. They're going to take pride in their work. They're going to be excited about what they're doing and what they're bringing to the table. And I just think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know so that's the point I got to. So
yeah. I know we talked about this idea of trust. So do you feel like that trust is almost at first, it's like a leap of faith, and then over time you build the trust, or do you, in order to be successful, does that trust have to be there right off the bat, or what did that look like? Allie, why don't you take this first?
So I really struggled with trusting myself and knowing the answers for my business. I really, for a long time, thought everybody else knew better than me, or I'd take all the courses. So it took time for me to do that. I almost trusted everybody else more than I ever trusted myself. So then I was falling into the trap of just listening to them of what my business needed. So that didn't answer your question, but it kind of does. So then when I found my VA who wanted to listen to me, yet also put in her own ideas, that's when I knew I could trust her to do the tasks that I knew she would like because she communicated them. And we could be a better team of, okay, then I need to find somebody that can do this because that's not her zone of genius. Or I can take that back on my plate if I have the time available.
Yeah.
So just the communication, that's what I really learned. I'm an empath, so I always feel like, oh, I'm going to hurt their feelings if I'm telling them what to do, or like, I'm so scared somebody's going to be mad at me. So it was really hard for me to learn how to communicate and trust that they would communicate back.
Yeah. So. I feel like that's like relationships 101 too, right? Like in order to trust somebody, you have to have good communication. So that makes total sense. Terry, what are your thoughts on all of this, and what's your experience been like in hiring someone for outsourcing? Like, what is your process? I know we've gotten a couple glimpses based off of your answers, but what's been your process in the past of making sure you're hiring the right person, and what does that whole process look like for you?
Yeah, I'll share two stories. Actually, let me answer one question first. So Corey's asking, can you share your recommendation on how to find a VA? And Sarah's kind of plus oneing it. So, there's some basic ways, right? You can go on Fiverr, you can go on Upwork. Here's what I love doing. And this is like the game within the game. If you learn how to do stuff like this is how you build your business quicker. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to go on Instagram or LinkedIn and say, hey, everyone, as you may know, I have this business. I do this for this audience, and we're growing quickly. I actually need a virtual assistant. Do you know anyone you would recommend? So first of all, you'll get a recommendation from your network as opposed to some random website. Second of all, it's like a soft advertisement for your business. Oh, wait, she does that? didn't know that. I don't have a VA, but I'm gonna reach out because of this, right? So get used to doing stuff like that. Next day, hey everyone, guess what? I need a videographer. As a reminder, here's what I do. Do you know anyone who can help me, right? So do stuff like that where you can find an excuse to get in front of your audience to talk about what you do. So in regards to finding a VA, on my end, right. So check testimonials, vet people, so on and so forth. Sometimes people want to have like a work sample. I believe in paying people for their work. So when I had my website built, I found 4 developers and I said, look, just build me a landing page. Just build me a landing page. That's it. So I'll pay you X $100, build a landing page. Am I paying for the same thing 4 times? Yes. But you know what I don't have? Buyer's remorse, because I know who did the best job with the landing page, and therefore I made the right choice. So you might have to invest a bit in order to find this person, give them a small task. And I was listening to this podcast. This guy said, when you're trying to find a VA, do the same thing. Find 4 of them, ask them to do the exact same task, and ask them to send you a picture of a pink Cadillac. And the guy's like, why the pink Cadillac? He's like, you want the person who's going to ask the question, why do you need a picture of a pink Cadillac? That's who you hire. Again, because you don't want a yes person. You want a thought partner. Someone's going to push back, because if you're a solopreneur, especially, you don't have anyone else to bounce ideas off of, right? So you need someone to be that person, that right-hand person to help you with these things. And you want someone who's going to push back when you're making bad decisions as well.
Wow, I love that. I know we do that at HoneyBook sometimes too. When we're hiring, we like ask them to complete the task, obviously, or whatever. That's like how big business operates too. So why shouldn't you do that as a solopreneur? That makes total sense. Okay, cool. Let's move on to our next question here. So this one's going to be for you, Allie, and this is kind of your longer format question that we had. So we can break this down into 2 different parts too. So how does a client know when they're really ready to invest in their business and their growth specifically? Like, what should they be feeling? What should their business look like? How would you approach that as a business owner? How would you advise someone to approach that as a business owner?
So for me, I'm going to answer this like 2 steps. For me as a brand designer, I want people that know who they serve and how they serve them. If you're not there and you're not ready for that, then I always highly suggest working with a strategist so you know the trajectory of your business. And then I'm going to match that visually, and I'm going to strategize with you of how we're going to bring that to life. As a business owner in general, not a designer, I always knew it was time when I was ready for that next level, that next step. When I couldn't get there without hiring somebody else or whatever the project may be. Like for me, I was horrible at calendar management, getting my projects on. I was constantly like the yes girl of, yeah, I can take your project. And then I'd be up until 2 o'clock in the morning, like, oh my God, I gotta get that done. So I knew I had to hand that off if I wanted to feel more in control. And that's where the streamlined business came to me, of when I finally could feel at ease in my business, and not as in business is easy, as I feel like I can sit down at my desk, do my job, and walk away and be a mother at the end of the night. So that's when I knew I had to start outsourcing and deciding when and what.
Yeah.
No, you go.
Okay. So what signals should they be looking for in their business to know that a coach would be able to help them? And then again, of this question of how should they make sure that they're hiring the right, or how would you vet somebody, or how do you make sure that you're hiring the right person for the job once you've kind of looked at your business and decided, oh shoot, I need someone on my team, I need help?
So for me, when I knew I needed to hire a coach was when I had a lot of problems, even like knowing where I wanted to go. Like, what kind of packages should I be creating? What kind of collections? I mean, I knew I always wanted to be a designer. That's what I've always been doing. But I had a really hard time formulating that from switching to an in-person studio to an online business. And I knew I needed help with figuring out how that was going to work and how I was going to present that, instead of having somebody come in and talk to me and then I could figure it out as I went. But I also really believe in like communicating, and I said this before, but really making sure that you're interviewing different vendors to know that they fit your vibe. So I know a lot of designers like design your brand, hand it off. Yeah. And I've had people come to me and talk to me about like, I'm scared because I don't want to just be left hanging. I also don't want to hire a designer that has to do every single design project for me later. So that's where you really have to vet your designer or any other project contractor that you're going to hire, of finding the person that can work with you and the means that you need to work to feel comfortable. I support my clients in a million different ways. Like I have some that are on quarterly retainers. I have some that come to me project-based. I have some that I build their next sales funnel. I have some that come for quarterly updates to their website. I do one-off projects. I don't ever want my clients to feel like they have to pay me 10 hours a month, no matter what. And if they don't have the project, then they are just giving me money. Like, so you have to find that person that can work with you in the way that you need it to help build your business and as financially as well. I mean, I don't want to be taking money for not doing the work. And I hope that you can find somebody that does the same. So
yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. We'll wrap up with one final question here. Then I'm going to go into our demo. And then I am seeing your guys' questions in the chat. I promise we're just going to save those for the last 10 minutes. So Terry, this last question goes to you. So how would you say using a coach and not trying to figure things out, your business trajectory on your own, makes you a more successful business owner?
Yeah, I'd say you don't have to learn things the hard way, first of all, because your coach typically is going to be someone who's found success in a similar field. And when you find a coach, to kind of piggyback on that, don't find someone who's been successful for like 20 years. You want to find someone who's like 2-3 years ahead of you, because the person who became successful 20 years ago, their tactics might not work anymore. Like, oh yeah, take out an ad in the phone book. It's gonna be great. Like that doesn't work anymore, right? So make sure the person's not too far ahead of you, where they're detached with the current marketplace. But again, it reveals blind spots you didn't have. It's going to challenge you to ask yourself tough questions, and it gives you time compression, because a lot of stuff you would have figured out eventually. It's not like, you're not an intelligent person, but like you get time compression and clarity, and that's really what a coach should give you.
Awesome. Okay, and just while we're on that same vein, we did have this question come up in the chat just now. Where and how? We're getting a lot of questions from the audience. Where and how do I find a VA, a coach? What are your, and maybe we can even post these in the chat for people. I know we listed off Fiverr and some other resources, but maybe let's each go around. So Terry, we'll start with you. Where and how should people be finding a VA or a coach? What are your like top go-to? I know you already talked about LinkedIn and how you vet and stuff, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you can do is look at other successful people and say, let's pretend they're in your network. Just say, have you had a coach? Do you recommend a coach, so on and so forth? I mean, you want to make sure, again, they're vetted, because anyone can be a coach. It's not like being a pilot. Like, you can say, yeah, I'm a coach, and all of a sudden you're coaching. So that's what I would recommend doing, because that's what the majority of my clients, they come from referral or from someone who's seeing my content a lot. But it's not just that someone's an expert, but like, do you actually want to talk to them? Do you actually want to open up to them? Right? Can you communicate with them well? Do you like the way they communicate? So someone might be a great coach, but they're not a good coach for you, because there's not that connection you're having.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to repeat again, check referrals, check testimonials, and just check for a good fit too. If you get a feeling in your gut, I don't like this, go with it and go away, because it's probably not going to get any better.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Sydney, how would you recommend people start searching? Like, where do they go on the World Wide Web to find the best person?
For coaching or for general outsourcing, is it coaching, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think for coaching, I think finding where your industry hangs out. So like somebody that you want to mentor in that field, right? So say you're a photographer and you need a photographer mentor, right? Well, then you'd want to figure out where is that person primarily hanging out. And for that industry, probably Instagram, right? Something visual. They're going to be hanging out on there. They're going to be sharing that's the service they're offering. And a lot of the time, a lot of good coaches will have in their profiles and bios good keywords, so they are discoverable, like photographer coach. And then you can find them that way, or even business strategist, productivity coach, whatever it may be, searching that way. And then you can set up calls with a few of them to see who's going to be the best match. And again, their process. I think that is like a super important part of it. Is like, okay, there's one thing about just doing one-on-one coaching, but like, what is the end goal? What process are they going to take you through? Because it might be better to join a group program that actually is going to be taking you from A to Z to help you solve a certain problem. Because if you don't have the end goal in mind, you might be just spending this time going back and forth on these sessions, and you'll notice that you're not actually moving forward in your business, because and then again, that's the coach's job as well, to help guide you. And so that's how you can tell they're a good coach, if they have that strategy and process in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Allie, how would you reply to that? If you've hired a coach before, where do you go?
So I'm going to say what not to do.
Okay.
Don't hire a coach just because you think it's the it thing to do. Like all the cool cats are doing it online. Make sure that they really fit the needs that you have. I have always found my top favorite best coaches from personal interaction, just starting that conversation, even if it's through DMs, meeting at a live conference when that was a thing. Just really having a conversation and getting to know them better, that you, Terry had said it before, but you want to open up to them and you believe that they're going to open up to you.
Yeah.
That reciprocal situation is just highly, highly needed for me. So that's my best advice. Don't do the cool thing because everybody else is doing it.
No, I love that, because I think it kind of touches on to the idea that you need to have some kind of understanding of what your end goal is and what your problem you're trying to solve is before you just hire someone. Maybe you don't need a business coach. Maybe you just need someone to build out your process better, or maybe there's just a specific niche that you actually need to solve and you just think that a coach is the right solution to it.
So I also think on that, find somebody that's going to work with you and your personality.
Yeah.
I am not a huge extrovert, so I've had coaches in the past be like, no, you have to do stories. You got to do stories. You have to do videos. And I'm like, not happening.
Yeah.
And then when I found somebody that can work with me in the way that I like to communicate, and I love to write, and I like to email, and I like to really form a good communication, obviously, with my clients and get very close to them.
Yeah.
That's when I had more success than shoving myself into a box that was never going to work for me or be sustainable. So,
yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay, let's go into our little demo here real quick, and then we'll open up to questions, which I've been saving them as you guys are posting them in. So I've got them queued up and ready to go. But we're going to start out just by showing you guys the new Pros Marketplace, just so when and if you get here, whether it's through the button that's at the bottom of the screen or you Google search or however you get here, you'll know what to do. So there's a lot of different ways to navigate the new Pros Marketplace. You can pop right in here. So if you say wanted to just pull up Terry's page, you could easily just type in his name and it would pull up his page right away for you to be able to search that way. Or if you wanted to look for a specific brand coach or something like that, you could do it through the search. But rather, I would recommend maybe just browsing services, because this will take you to those 4 categories that we mentioned across, getting the system set up if there's something that you're not using today in HoneyBook. So again, pros are specific to the HoneyBook system. While there might be an overarching strategy involved, this is meant to make sure that HoneyBook is really set up as part of that well-oiled machine. So how does HoneyBook come into play for your business? So if there's tools in HoneyBook that you're not using and you wish you could use them, but you don't have the time, that's going to be this first category. Improving your account. This is more of that situation where we talked about someone going through and basically auditing the tools that you already have set up to make sure that you're having them work smarter, not harder for you. Then we've got our design and branding elements, which Allie is a specialist in. So this is where you really want to take advantage maybe of brochures or the client portal, or you want to revamp your logo, or learn all the different branding and design elements of HoneyBook and how that can come into play in elevating your business. And then we have our business strategy category, which is more of the expertise that Terry has been touching on around coming up with an overall plan for your business. I know Sydney touched on this a little bit too, and I know Sydney falls into the improve your account category too. But once you click into these different categories, depending on what you need, you'll see the full list of pros that work in this area. You can tick off different services that you're interested in specifically, or if you're looking for a specific industry expertise like we've been talking about. So I know one of the bigger questions we were getting is, where do you go to hire someone? What do you do? How do you know to hire someone? We've been talking about knowing someone who has your industry expertise, hiring someone who's willing to do and excited to do the task at hand. So the marketplace is definitely set up to help you do that. Once you click into someone's profile, you can easily view, the jobs they've completed in the past. There's a little blurb on, what they do, who they are, how many jobs they've completed, and then all of the different tasks or operations or HoneyBook Pro focus areas that they have. And then you'll also be able to read reviews. So really across the board. And I think some profiles also have like a portfolio. So I think actually, let me repost Terry, Allie, and Sydney's links in the chat for you guys, because I'm 99% sure that they all have a portfolio. So we can post that right now. You guys can check that out. But that is really the whole marketplace. It's very easy to search and navigate depending on who you need to hire or what task is at hand. So definitely feel free to check that out today. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so we can spend our last 5 minutes answering your guys' questions. So let's start out. I'll basically just go around the circle to have each of you guys answer the question. So one of the bigger questions that we've had posted a couple of times is, we know how to find the people, we know, what to delegate, we know how to approach all of that. How do you decide on a budget for outsourcing? What does that approach look like, either for you, or how do you guide your clients in making that decision? So Allie, question.
This is not my area of expertise. For me, I'm not a numbers person. I don't like them. I'm art. Yep. So I finally had a coach and mentor that sat down and made me a spreadsheet, because that is not something that my mind does. So it has different percentages of how much I need to be taking home to pay my bills there. And I just learned that when I had the number here, then I could invest it.
There you go.
It's not very helpful.
Okay, so let's see. Sydney, what do you think in regards to budgeting around outsourcing? How would you approach that?
I think it depends on if it's like ongoing support, right? You're going to budget that differently, what you need on a monthly basis versus like maybe a one-time project, right? It all depends on what your needs are. But I think that, like, on average, I would say I probably spend about 10% of what I make on outsourcing, I'd say. So just as a number for me, my business.
That's good. Okay, Terry, what's your advice around budgeting for outsourcing?
Yeah, I'll give a slightly different take. So the first thing is get clear on the outcomes. What are you going to get from it? Because on my end, I would pay $20,000 for a 10-second TikTok video if it was going to help me make more money, right? So I get, being somewhat frugal if you need to be, which would make sense. But when you're clear on the outcomes, it's not a cost, it's an investment. And it's going to come back tenfold. Well, hopefully at least.
Okay, great. I love that. There's so many different approaches to it. And hopefully all of you are feeling like we're represented in the panel today. I feel like everyone has their own different area of expertise across everyone here. So hopefully you guys are seeing yourselves in each of these situations. Okay, let's see. At what point, we kind of asked this as we were going through, but maybe it's a little bit, maybe I can pose it a little bit differently. So the original question is, at what point in your business timeline did you decide to start outsourcing? So basically what year in business were you, or how early on or how late on in your business did you decide to start outsourcing? And would you advise other people to do it that way, or would you tell people to do it sooner or later? So Allie, let's start with you on that one.
Actually, I'm going to jump in real quick because I have to go lead a different workshop. But this has been great. I would say the sooner you get started outsourcing, the better, because again, once you get that clarity, you know the outcomes, and you can do that time compression and clarity. So don't hesitate. Just get clear first, then move forward.
No problem.
But I do have to jump. I apologize.
Awesome, Terry. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, Allie, why don't you step in and say your bit on outsourcing and when you decided to do that for your business, and how you decided that in terms of your business timeline.
So, like I said, I originally opened as a wedding planner and stationery studio. So I personally started outsourcing pretty early on. I think I was 2 years into business. And that was just because I knew I had to spend my time working with the clients and meeting with them and hearing their wedding dreams. But I also needed somebody to help me execute putting the invitations together. So it was just more of a time balance for me. And And then when I switched to an online business, it was when I figured out I was spinning my wheels and not knowing how to complete the next task because I didn't have enough time. So that's when I had to really sit down. First, I will say that I hired a strategist to help me figure out, like I said, the direction that I wanted to go. And then I just took from there what tasks I needed to outsource that would help me move forward. So.
Okay. Gotcha. And really quick, before we get into your answer on that, Sydney, we are at time, but I want to give you a chance to answer too. I did just post the poll at the bottom of the page. If you guys wouldn't mind just letting us know what you thought of this webinar, if we should do this format again, it'll take you like 2 seconds. It's just rating it on a scale of 1 to 10. So don't forget to do that for me. So Sydney, yeah, how would you say that you would approach, deciding for your business timeline? When's the right time to outsource?
I outsourced right away. Right away was like, I need help with this, this, and this. If I'm going to book more projects, I want to be able to consistently take projects on. In order to do that, I need support in all of these areas. And so right away, I decided to do that. And I think that it may seem like an investment at first, but you will see that return on your investment right away, for sure.
Yeah. Great. Okay, everybody, we are 1 minute over. Thank you so much, you guys, for taking the time to be on our panel. Sydney and Allie, I posted their links just in the chat there. And thank you to all of our audience members for your awesome questions. It seems like this was really helpful. So definitely don't forget to leave it a little score there in the poll for me. And we will talk to you guys next time.